Hello and welcome to Palestinapodden. Today we will be speaking with Russian-born journalist and human rights advocate Andrey, also known as Andrey X on social media platforms.
And we'll talk with Sophia, who's based in New York, studies architecture there, and has done a research on water apartheid. She's also a photographer. She's born in Tel Aviv and comes from a Palestinian ancestral line of Palestinian Jews.
We will be speaking with them about the current situation in the West Bank, how the settler violence is increasing for every single day, the annexation of the West Bank, how language is an important part of reporting, and how important activism, international activism, is in Palestine. So have a good listen, and as always, Free Palestine. Andrey and Sophia, thank you so much for coming to the Palestine podcast.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start with you, Andrey. You have a Russian identity, but you're also Jewish, and were able to attain an Israeli passport because of it. After moving to Israel, what changed your view about the state?
I think just generally the fact that I have eyes and ears, and I wasn't conditioned to normalize everything that is going on there, and it took me about 6 months to a year to, learn what's going on. I spoke with a lot of people, read a lot of stuff, and when I was just coming there, because it was so sudden, I was just running away from Russia in fear of political persecution. But this was a completely new world for me. And over the course of the next months, I learned a lot and became progressively more horrified, and realized that I had become part of an apartheid system, that I had become part of a settler colonial project. And I realized that I have to either leave or start doing something about it. So I chose the latter.
What did you know about the state before you moved there?
I knew vaguely about the occupation, West Bank, settlements, something, but it's, I had this standard liberal European understanding of the region where, there is this really complicated conflict, and there is just so much hatred between the two sides, and we don't know what to do because we need to fix this hatred, and so on. And the more I learned about what's happening, the more I realized that there are no two sides. There's only one side that holds all the cards, and it's being the conflict is just one side progressively ethnically cleansing and suppressing the other. And when I started realizing that, the illusion fell apart.
When you moved there, where did you set base first before you moved?
First, I was in Tel Aviv. I was in Tel Aviv for 2 years, and then I moved to the West Bank.
Because you moved there after the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, right?
Actually, I was there on holiday for 2 weeks, visiting my grandparents who were there at the time. And I had a flight home to St. Petersburg, Russia, on the day Russia invaded Ukraine. And so I didn't take the flight, and I haven't been to Russia since. And that was 4 years ago. And instead I applied for an Israeli citizenship, because I was already there, and it was very easy to get. It took 3 months. 3 months later, I had Israeli citizenship.
And you just say, how do you apply for it? You literally just say, I have a Jewish identity, can I have a passport? How is it?
You have to prove it in some way.
Yeah.
There are several ways. You can take a DNA test. You can find archival documents which confirm that your ancestry is Jewish, because, say, in the former Russian Empire territories in the 19th century, they wrote down your ethnicity, and you can bring these documents and go through the process. I mean, it's still annoying as any bureaucratic process, but it's easy.
Yeah.
You, Sophia, was born in Tel Aviv, and as Andreas talked a lot about on social media, the Zionist mindset is so indoctrinated that one may not even realize the occupation of Palestine. If we understood it correctly, you identify as a Palestinian Jew?
I do not identify as a Palestinian Jew. I think that it would be insane for me to identify as Palestinian since I do not go through any of the struggles and oppressions that Palestinians go through. But on a surface level conversation, if someone on the street asks me where I'm from, I say I'm a Jew from occupied Palestine. Exactly. But no, I would never dare to identify as Palestinian.
Can you please tell us more about growing up in Tel Aviv, and when did you realize the apartheid state?
Absolutely. I think that for some people it was this like realization. And I don't know if it's because of my education or because of my family. It never hit me in the face. I was kind of just always considered very leftist, and growing up I was even considered radical, and I didn't really understand what people were talking about. Because I would question, why did I see on the news in 2014 and 2015 and 2017 and 2018 that Israel is bombing Gaza? Like, this is so strange. Like, why is this normal? I remember watching the news in my family's living room and just being like, why? Like, why is this? I was just so confused. And then I was considered very leftist growing up, but I never really understood why. I was like, I'm just confused on why we're murdering people. Mm-hmm. And then at 15 years old, I got my first enlistment order. I went to the enlistment base for my first kind of like, it's like a couple of phases of enlistments. The first one is just like a test for like intelligence, like physical test, and then an interview to like kind of understand where you're at emotionally, mentally, and where they could put you. So I remember walking into that base, 15 years old, it was like 7 a.m, and I just immediately started crying. And I had absolutely no explanation to why I immediately got sent into a panic attack. But I realized that I could not enlist that day. I was kind of thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if like in my morals I should be in an army, but I was also 15, so my morals were like still very much shaping themselves. And I walked in and I was like, no, absolutely not. Something feels very wrong. Something feels extremely uncomfortable. And I flunked all of the tests on purpose. I pressed 1 on the intelligence test. And they did a lot of trouble for me about that because I graduated first in my class. So they were like, why did this person press 1 on every single answer? And got a 33%. Which I really like because now I know the like statistics of why everything is, that brings me a lot of joy. But yeah, I refused to enlist. I was released from the military at 17. I did not sit in jail like many of my comrades have and are still sitting in jail. This morning, a comrade was sentenced to another 30 days after spending more than 100 days in Israeli jails, Israeli military jails. But like all of my Israeli anti-Zionist comrades say, this is a tiny sliver of a price that we pay to not participate in a genocide, in an act of genocide. We still, by our existence, in a sense, participate in ethnic cleansing, but we are not actively murdering people. And this is just a tiny, tiny price to sacrifice and pay.
Could you tell us more about your comrades, the community there, because we don't get any of it here, right? What is the movement that is happening in Israel now and your generation coming up?
Yeah, so there's like general like Israeli liberal left. It's shameful to even call them leftists. But what is considered Israeli liberal left that are part of the movement were in the Kaplan demonstrations, were in the Balfour demonstrations. So like this anti-government movement that is like the Bring Them Home movement, we want to topple the government, we want to bring home our hostages, and then we can continue the fighting in Gaza, and then we can continue the genocide. So there's that, which is the leading liberal leftist movement in occupied Palestine. And then there is a small fraction sliver of anti-Zionist leftists, either people that consider themselves Israeli, people that consider themselves ex-Israeli, people that consider themselves born and raised in occupied Palestine as Jews, like I do, that are fighting from inside for the liberation of Palestine and for the collapsing of Zionism.
And do you see, is it a generational thing, or has this been going on for a long time?
It definitely has been going on for a long time. There's actually a good age range, I'd say. It's definitely a lot more common in my generation. So like, I'm 21, so 21 to like 18, I'd say. But there are people that have been fighting for this for years. There have been people that have been fighting for this since the establishment of the apartheid wall. There's fantastic activists that are 80, 70 years old that have been fighting for this for generations. And then there's also very young activists that have grown up in this society and that are like, whoa, we don't want to be part of this. We didn't choose to be born here. We didn't choose to be part of this, but it is now in our responsibility to fight against this. We don't have a choice but to fight against this.
You said that your friend is in jail. What are the consequences of being in such a movement?
I guess it's very difficult for me to talk about consequences because of course there are consequences. There are consequences to everything, but they're so ridiculous to me. It's like, okay, you're ousted from Israeli society.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. What will I do without them? How will I ever be able to function without people yelling death to all Arabs at me? It's like, wow, it's so difficult. But yeah, there are consequences. You get ousted from Israeli society, you get verbally, physically assaulted in demonstrations, in the field on a daily basis. You get death threats, you get put in jail, you get arrested. But like, I say these offhandedly because it's absolutely nothing. Like, my imprisonment could be at the worst if I get arrested in a demonstration a night. That is the worst that I could possibly get. And I would not get raped. I would not get assaulted. I would not be beaten to death. I would not be starved. I would probably, and have been, treated quite well. I was slightly sexually assaulted, but that's a different story. But yeah, like, the consequences that I would face would be so insanely minimal. And I think that is why the two of us are able to do this work, because we are holders of Israeli passports. We can raise a camera, we can walk around, we can drive a car anywhere we'd like. We can take whatever bus we want. It is the consequences that we face for our work are so minimal for Palestinians doing and saying the exact same thing that we are. If people said what I'm saying in this interview, if Palestinians said what I'm saying in this interview, they would long ago be tortured, raped, behind bars, probably murdered.
How did you two, did you guys meet through your work in the West Bank, or how did you?
Yeah, as Sophia said, the community is extremely small. Everybody, like within the anti-Zionist movement there, like everybody knows everyone. We met in the West Bank about a year and a few months ago in Al-Makhrur. I don't know if you remember, there was a big story about that when settlers took over a house of a Palestinian Christian woman who lived there. And there was a big movement to sort of challenge that, and they were bringing activists from abroad, and Israeli activists and Palestinian activists, everyone. And yeah, we met at a demonstration there, having flashbang grenades thrown at the demonstration by the police.
It's a fantastic story.
I mean, this is West Bank stuff, yeah. And since then we worked together a lot in in the West Bank, covering stuff that is happening, going from place to place.
Yeah. Can you describe? Because we want to talk a little bit about we want to talk a lot about the West Bank actually, because we want to talk about your work there. Can you, first of all, What's the state of the West Bank now? Just like, because I think it's important that we just put it at the ground level as well, because I don't actually think that people understand how violent it is right now. But since and I don't even think that through our social media screens we will even fathom it. So it would be nice to,
Yeah, it's very difficult to fathom it just through a social media screen, because you see like a 30 to 60 second clip, but those events can last for hours, and this is, there are attacks that last throughout a night, and then you will see kind of the highlights, but the occupation is there with you at all times. And answering your question about the state of the West Bank, well, the West Bank is on fire. And the West Bank has been on fire for a long time, and the fire is only intensifying. And as you know, 2 days ago, the Israeli army expanded its operations in the northern section of the West Bank with the refugee camps. They are now in Tubas and Tamun, where they haven't been in a long time, and it's the largest escalation since January, when they ethnically cleansed 3 refugee camps in the north. At the same time, there are increasing attacks all over the West Bank, be that by settlers or by the army. The day before yesterday, the Israeli army tear gassed a kindergarten in a community next to Bethlehem. There are constant attacks in the Masafar Yatta and in the Ramallah areas. It's every day there are dozens, sometimes hundreds of attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday we're seeing a clip circle of 2 people being executed. Like, this is not an isolated reality. This is not an accident. This is not this, like, occasional thing. This is a daily thing. This is a daily level of violence, if not hourly.
Yeah. And also encouraged by the Secretary...
the Minister of National Security.
Yeah, Ben Gvir. So it's legitimized in a way, which is also why
But it's legitimized by everyone.
It is.
It's not just legitimized by the far right. It's not just legitimized by the people, the insane sociopathical people in power. So it's legitimized by everyone. Everyone is taking part of this. Everyone is to blame, and everyone is responsible.
But they're going to do internal research again, so they're going
to
Oh, that should be fine.
Yeah,
probably fine.
Yeah, they're also doing it for themselves.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're going to find all the problems there.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how you work? How do you collaborate with the Palestinians there? How do you find out about the attacks? How do you talk us through a day in the West Bank?
So the way it began for me is I was reporting on one specific community. I moved there a year and a half ago. Initially, I thought it was just for a month. And I moved with the human rights advocacy organization, which tries to have either Israelis or internationals present in a community that is very vulnerable to attack. And back then, there were 3-4 attacks per day in that community. And I was just filming that and putting that out because, there were hours of footage and it was going nowhere, and it felt like, okay, people should see this. And as that started getting traction, I started getting calls from various communities, from Palestinians all over the West Bank, asking, oh, can you come here and report on what's happening here? We also have settler attacks, or I had my house burned down, or this and that. And I started going around more. And by now, I just have connections kind of everywhere, and whenever something happens, someone will text me and ask, hey, can you come report on that? And my general modus operandi is to move around all the time. I rarely stay anywhere for longer than 2 days. And there are several major areas that I try to, within a month, I try to hit up all of them. Masafar Yatta, Jordan Valley, Ramallah area, the northern refugee camps. So it's each of those areas that have some sort of intense stuff happening. And at any time I'm ready to, jump on a call because something is happening in a specific place. But usually stuff is happening everywhere, so it doesn't really matter. Wherever you go, stuff will happen.
Yeah.
It was a bit different for me. After my first semester of studying in New York, I'm studying architecture. I refused to enlist. I got a scholarship. I moved to New York. Very, very, very lucky to be able to do that. And I'm studying architecture, and I got picked up by this European NGO, and they were like, we want you to do research for us. We don't care about whatever you want, pitch a project. And I was like, okay, I'll pitch a project. So I pitched, they were focusing on a decentralized water rights. So I pitched the water apartheid in the West Bank. And I didn't yet have the words, I didn't yet have the vocabulary, but I was like, I will research water. And then slowly, in like 2 weeks, I was like, I'm researching water apartheid, water colonization, violence through the suppressing the basic need of consuming water. And I did that, and I went to the West Bank for the first time in my life. I went with Breaking the Silence. I went in one of their tours, and I was asking very, very specific questions about water, and they were very confused by me. So they came up to me later, and they were like, who are you? And I explained to them, I was like, I'm doing research on the water apartheid. And then the Palestinian community that we visited in Khalil, I got very close to one of the activists there, and I just started visiting him on a weekly basis. So I would hop on a settler bus from Tel Aviv that took me directly to Khalil, and I was there in from Jerusalem to Khalil, I was there in 15 minutes. The bus runs every 15 minutes. Nowhere in occupied Palestine do buses run every 15 minutes on schedule. Clean, nice chairs, just directly. Jerusalem, Khalil. And I would get off on a road that is segregated. It is only for Jews. Only Jews can walk on that road. And the first time I visited them, I didn't even realize. I got off on this road, I walked up a mountain to the location that they sent me, and I spent a couple of hours in their house. They took me around Khalil, they explained to me the water apartheid, they explained to me how they need to pay atrocious prices for just the consumption of water. They need to buy water tanks. They are not connected to any water grid. And they are in such a different condition than the settlements, because the settlement emerges and within 2 days they have connection to water, electricity, and whatever they need. And they also use that as a form of terrorism by cutting water pipes, by shooting water tanks in Palestinian communities. And I remember after the first day that I was there, they said, oh, we'll walk, it's getting really late, we'll walk you back to the bus. We don't want you to walk alone. So they walk me down this very, very narrow pathway down a mountain, and they stop right in front of the large road. And I was very confused. I was like, oh, the bus is around the corner. Do you guys want to like stay with me in the station, wait for the bus to come? It was like 1 a.m. And they were like, we can't. I was like, what do you mean you can't? And then I see all of the neighborhood kids are lining up at this arbitrary line in the middle of nowhere, invisible line. And I realized that only Jewish people can access that road. It is right there. There's no gate, there's no fence. It's right there, and they're not allowed to step on it. And that road used to be the main marketplace of Khalil. And they are no longer allowed to step foot in it, because they will be shot. They will be killed. So I go to the settler bus, and I take it back to Jerusalem. And ever since then, I got very involved with communities that were under direct pressure of the water apartheid. And I was doing this very, very long research, but I was carrying around the camera with me everywhere. So someone calls me, they're like, oh, all of our water wells that are over 100 years old got filled with concrete yesterday by the IOF. Can you come photograph this for your research? So I photograph it, and I'm like, it has to go somewhere more urgently. So I reach out, I got this published, and that's basically what I've been doing. I get called somewhere, I photograph, I get it published, and I continue to do my research, different types of research on the side. We're working together on a more long-standing research projects about the solar panel and it's named The Occupation of the Sun. It should come out sometime in December. It's looking at how solar panels are being used as a mean of ethnic cleansing and greenwashing within the West Bank, and it's also highly invested by international companies and international in different countries, like Norway, for example. Yeah. And now how I work is I go visit my friends. I go visit my friends in Masafriata. I go visit my friends in Khalil. I go visit my friends in the Jordan Valley. And while I'm there are at least 10 settler attacks in a day. So I'm there, I'm with a camera, I'm holding my Israeli ID, and I can raise my camera.
And they won't. I have 2 questions.
Sorry, that was a bit long. I apologize.
No, it's really.
I go on tangents when I talk about my work.
No, it's good. I just wanna. So when because you're saying you stay at a place, you could travel 2 days, and no one stops you during the.
Well.
Because I'm assuming that they know your work, so...
We did get kidnapped together.
We did get kidnapped once.
It was a really bonding experience.
That was not, So like sometimes you get stopped, but it's like you need to get unlucky to be stopped.
We get unlucky
generally
often.
it is, I mean, the more you move, the more chances that you get unlucky. If you're using exclusively settler infrastructure, if you move only between settlements, like if you move between, I don't know, Tel Aviv and some settlements in the West Bank, you won't even notice that you're crossing into some new territory. Like the checkpoint is not visible when you're entering. Like it's there, but it's not. You can just miss it. And it's all the same system, the same road network. But if you're trying to get to a Palestinian community, things become crazy. And when I started going with my Palestinian friends who have green license plates, unlike the yellow Israeli license plates, it was just a completely different experience. And we're trying to get to some location, which is some Palestinian village, and if it's slightly more difficult to get to, we have to like look through the WhatsApp group chats, which will say which checkpoints are open, where there is traffic because they're checking every car. We would stop in some village and just ask passerbys, oh, how do we get to that community? And the answer would be like, okay, you can go around there, but there are settlers there, they might be throwing stones, so be careful. Okay, you can go through this, but there's a military checkpoint, they don't let through every car. You can drive a whole way around, but then the half an hour drive turns into a 2-hour drive. And this is just the reality of movement in the West Bank. Sometimes a ride which should take you like half an hour takes you 6. And this is not an exaggeration. This has happened to me.
It's a weekly thing.
Every once in a while they will stop people and harass you and so on. But it's because of our privilege of having an Israeli ID, we are much more protected than Palestinian and even international activists. Because Palestinian activists at checkpoints often will get kidnapped. If the army knows that you're an activist, they can stop you, harass you, beat you, and they can hold you for as long as they want, and there will be no consequences. If that happens to us, there are consequences. And they have to, if they arrest you, they have to present you in front of court within 24 hours. It's going to be a civilian court rather than a military court. And they cannot deport us like they do with international activists. In the past month, 34 activists were deported, I think. So it's not easy, but it's much easier than for anybody else. Unless you're a soldier, I guess for a soldier it's easier.
You had one more question?
Yeah, I do. I just want to write down because I have a follow-up to that one as well.
Yeah.
What you were talking about settler buses.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I also don't think that's something people know widely about.
So I call them settler buses, but for some people they're just buses. You can take them from the central station in Jerusalem to anywhere in the West Bank. I think we also took a settler bus from Netanya into Ariel.
So
strange.
The bus system in the West Bank and the bus system in the 48 territories.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. They're moving. Sometimes you are going to be moving from one place in the 48 to another place in the 48, and the bus is going to come through the West Bank and like stop at a few settlements and then get back into 48, and the other way around. Like it's a completely interconnected thing. And in the West Bank, you have these 2 parallel systems on top of each other. You have all these settler buses which do not get checked, do not get stopped at checkpoints. You just go, and in parallel parallel, there is a system of Palestinian transportation. There are no registered buses, but there are these big yellow taxis that can take about like 10 people, and they will go between cities. And those taxis will have to get stopped at checkpoints. They're not allowed to cross the green line, and so on and so forth. And those are two completely different systems. And even when it's buses, like registered regular buses, there is a bus, for instance, between Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and if you're getting on that bus, you have to have an Israeli ID or a foreign ID. Like if you're a West Banker Palestinian, you're not allowed to take that bus unless you have a permit, which barely anybody has now. Yeah. And settler buses from that same area, from settlements there, just cross the green line. There's no checkpoint for them. But the bus from Bethlehem will get stopped at the green line. And several times when I took those buses, they check you at the green line, and then the bus stops in the center of Jerusalem, and the army raids the bus in the center of Jerusalem. Even though that bus just got checked. Everybody on it has either a permit or an Israeli ID. But it's a bus coming from Palestinian territory. Everybody on it is Palestinian. And they check everybody's IDs, they hold the bus, they hold you up. And the last time this happened, my ID got checked, and they let me go before everybody else because I'm the only non-Palestinian on the bus, even though we have the exact same IDs. Yeah. And this is one of these many things that make this classic Zionist argument that, oh, come on, you have 2 million Arabs living in Israel with Israeli IDs, and they're completely fine, complete equality. Yeah. We're just racist to those other ones. Yeah. But no, they're racist to these ones too. Yeah. And it's a different reality that you live in. Yeah. Better than the reality for West Bankers, but still.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you've been kidnapped how many times?
We've been kidnapped once.
Once.
I've been kidnapped twice.
What? You got kidnapped and didn't tell me? I'm so offended. When did you get kidnapped? Sticker. Ah, yes. Yes.
How is that experience? Or can you talk about it at all?
I can talk about the first one, and you can talk about the sticker. We were driving in the West Bank from Area C to Area B, and there was a checkpoint. We were in a... Does Hossein have a Palestinian car? Or
it was a
Palestinian car, green plates. And
just to quickly, so Israelis have yellow plates. Yes. They can drive on any road. Palestinians have green plates.
Exactly.
They're segregated.
Exactly.
Just so people know.
Exactly. And we were driving. We got stopped at a checkpoint. We were like, okay, routine check, pulling out IDs, showing IDs. Our IDs got confiscated. We were like, we're detained. That's so unfortunate. We have a meeting that we need to get to. That sucks. And then we were detained for 2 hours. And I was like, okay. Something bad is going to happen. I have a very, very bad gut feeling. I put my phone on airplane mode, I lock it, and then the soldiers come up to us and they're like, okay, hand over your phones to Andrey. And we can do a reenactment. Sorry, it's really not funny. If you're not going to cope with humor, I'm going to just have a panic attack.
No,
so, you know.
No, we have to.
We're Palestinians. Yeah. It's okay.
Thank you. No, I tell this story to Americans, and they're like,
yeah.
Okay.
For context, Israeli soldiers are not allowed to ask for phones of Israelis and internationals because we're not under military law. They can do it to Palestinians, they can do whatever they want to Palestinians, they can ask the phones, they can confiscate, arrest, and so on. But with Israelis and internationals, the maximum they can do, they can detain you until the police arrives. They're not allowed to touch you, they're not, unless you're doing something. They're not allowed to take your phone. And the army, in a press statement after this, just completely lied. They said, we were resisting the detention, and they didn't mention the phones at all. But they asked us to hand over the phones. So they asked phone. Andrey refuses, naturally. He explains the law. He has every right to not give the phone to a soldier. So the soldier naturally pulls out his gun, points it at all of us, takes Andrey out of the car and beats him up with his gun barrel, while 2 other soldiers are standing with their guns pointing at his head. Naturally, we all left the car after that. We sit down on the road, and in the scorching sun, we sat there for another hour or so. We have cars passing by and looking at us, and they're like,
who are these blonde people detained by the military? And they were like, okay. And then they're like, now we understand who these blonde people detained by the military are. Obviously, Hussein, the only Palestinian in the car, got the worst treatment. He was on the verge of fainting. He has a medical condition, and they refused to give him water, refused to call an ambulance. And after about an hour, they call one of us over, and they start blindfolding us. And that's when I realized that something very bad is going to happen, because there's no police, there's just military, and they're beginning to wrap this very, very, very long, I think we measured afterwards, about 5 meters of fabric extremely tightly around my friend's eyes. And that's where I realized that it is now time to use the privilege that I was given at birth. And I start crying hysterically and forcefully. I forced myself into this sort of panic attack mode. And I stay there last. And when they beckon me over to get handcuffed and hand-tied, I refuse. So they walk over, and I'm hysterically crying at this point, can hardly breathe. And I start speaking at them in Hebrew. And they're like, I didn't speak until then at all. And they're like, what? And their entire demeanor shifts. Suddenly I have this soldier trying to touch me. He's trying to hug me. He's trying to hold my hand. And I'm like, don't touch me. Obviously, what are you doing? You had a gun pointed at every single one of my friends a second ago. And he's trying to hold me and touch me. And they're like, okay, we promise we won't blindfold you. We will only handcuff you, but you need to stand up. I'm like, no, I'm not standing up. At this point, a Palestinian would get shot. Anyone besides someone who speaks Hebrew and is as white and as blonde, is as Jewish as me, would have a bullet in their head at this point. They pick me up, they help me cross the road. And they walk me over and they're like, okay, we have to handcuff you. I'm like, no. Absolutely not. So I throw myself over the checkpoint and I puke on their shoes. Natural reaction. And then they're like, okay, fine. We're not going to touch you. We're not going to do anything to you. We need you, though, to stay here. And they're like, sit behind us, because passerbys, Palestinian cars, are going to shoot at you or throw rocks at you if you're not protected by us. I look at them. I look at my friends, blindfolded, handcuffed, lined against the wall. One of my friends asks me, are they going to shoot us? Are they lining us against the wall, blindfolded and handcuffed, about to shoot us? And I look at the soldier. He's pulling up a chair for me. He's telling me, sit. We'll protect you. Eventually, a military car arrives, and they start stuffing all of my friends very, very forcefully into the back of it. And I realize that I'm the only one that can see. I'm the only one that can move my hands. I'm the only one that can see. And I asked the soldiers, I was like, okay, it's my turn to play the Judenrat. It is. I felt disgusting, but it was the only thing I could do. I was like, I need to protect my friends. Even if it means being nice to the people that are kidnapping us, I need to protect my friends. So I ask if I can help my friends into the military car, and they let me. And I see my friends have all of their limbs piled up on one another, and they're pushing my friends in. And then they push my friends even more in to make room for me to sit comfortably. And I sit down. I'm the only fluent Hebrew speaker. I sit down in the back of the car and I chat up the soldiers. Because I'm like, I need them to like me. I need them to like me. I need them to like my friends. I need to keep my friends safe. And I'm talking to this soldier who's my age. How old was I, 19 or 20?
No, I think you were 20 at the time.
I was 20. I was 20 at the time. He's my age. And he's talking to me. And he's like, oh, where are you from? I'm from Tel Aviv. He's like, oh, I'm also from Tel Aviv. Where did you grow up? I tell him where I grew up. And he's like, oh, I grew up right around the block from you. And he's like all excited that he gets to talk to a Tel Avivian. And he's like, all of them, they're all from God knows where. I need a Tel Avivian to get me. And I'm like, okay. And we get taken to this military base, and we get put in this little like box outside. We're all piled in this tiny little watch box, basically. It's all like metal, tiny little cube. And all my friends are thrown on the floor. I get placed nicely. And then a soldier comes and he's like, I'm really sorry. I need to handcuff you. It's protocol. I'm like, no. He's like, I'll do it just with one zip tie. I promise I'll be very gentle. I'm like, no. Eventually he handcuffs me and I'm like, I'm causing more problems than I should. He can just handcuff me and it's fine. As long as I can see and protect my friends and understand where are we. Because all of this time, my friends can't see. They can't move. Their hands are tied behind their backs. I have a tiny little flimsy zip tie that I can easily like take my hands out of. The whole thing becomes a propaganda show for us. They all come, they watch us, they talk to us, they yell stuff at us, they curse at us. And we sit there for, I don't know, a couple of hours. And obviously all of our things were confiscated. And then eventually, after all of this ordeal, a police car finally arrives. They take us, they handcuff us properly, not with zip ties, but with handcuffs. And they take us to a police station in Ma'ale Adumim, in a settlement, where we're held for a couple more hours. And they're like, okay, you're under arrest. You're going to be questioned. You're going to go to court. You're probably going to stay the night here. At this point, I didn't see any of my male colleagues, so it was just me and another female with an Israeli passport. And we're put in an office. And they sit us down and they're like, playing this good cop, bad cop game. So they're like, if you tell us things, we can let you go earlier. Eventually, they gave me food, they gave me water. I was treated fantastically. They would talk to me in eye level. And you guys had very, very different treatment than that. I was given corn, like buckets of corn. I'm vegetarian. So they were like, what are we going to feed you? They couldn't give me tuna, so they gave me corn. I couldn't eat corn for like a year later, I think. Eventually, they just released us. I wasn't interrogated. I wasn't arrested. Nothing happened. I just sat in this settlement jail for a couple of hours. And then apparently I discovered in retrospect from what my dad told me is that I was not allowed to contact a lawyer, obviously, even though I asked repeatedly to contact a lawyer. So I had no way to reach my family. And eventually I realized that the lawyer was contacted because my dad, God bless him, I love him so much, he called every single police settlement station and he's like, you guys kidnapped my daughter, tell me where she is right now. And he went one by one calling them. And that's how our lawyer figured out where we were. Yeah. That's our wee kidnapping story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun times.
And the sticker story.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, have you ever heard of Cinema Sderot? Cinema Sderot is this hill
but you can tell.
overlooking Gaza in the town of Sderot, where you can see like a large portion of Gaza like on a plate before you. And it has been this place of gathering for a number of years now. I think it began with 2014 maybe, bombing of Gaza, where people would gather and watch, they would bring couches and watch how Gaza gets bombed. Since the beginning of the Gaza genocide, it has become more formalized. Like there is an actual viewing platform there now. The state installed like some benches and gazebos and binoculars where you can throw a 5 shekel coin, or even you can pay by card if you want, in order to watch up close how Gaza gets bombed. And I was invited there by a journalist friend to come with him. So we come there, and it is, like I knew what it was, but the experience of being there was very, very different because, when you see that happening, when you see the families come there with kids, a school trip, in front of the binoculars, there's a bucket so that small children can stand on it and watch as their peers are being bombed in Gaza. And that was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. So I recorded a video about it to try to, talk about, to bring that information out. And as part of the video, I put a Free Palestine sticker on with a Palestinian flag on one of the gazebos with Gaza in the background. And I record the video, I publish it, and several days later, the video blows up because it's,
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
disgusting.
And then several days later, it gets picked up by Israeli publications, by some satellite publications, and they start writing about me, about what's happening there, and they found out that the gazebo that I put it on is dedicated to some dead soldier, and they turn this into a whole thing. They write articles about it, and then the Minister of Housing of Israel and head of the party Yahadut HaTorah writes a letter to the police commissioner demanding my arrest, and it's like an open letter. And a few days later after that, I get a call from the police saying, we tried to find you at your house, but we couldn't. Could you please come to the police station? So they attempted to raid my house, but they don't know where I live because I don't live where I'm registered, obviously. So I come to the police station. The police station, they can't figure. It's such a mess that they can't figure out who actually wanted me, and so they say, okay, fine, just leave. It's not nobody wants to talk to you. It's okay. Okay, fine. So I just leave, and I think, okay, well, I mean, I tried. He called me to that police station, and several days later after that, I'm sitting in a cafe with my friends in the middle of Tel Aviv, when two people with no uniform come up to me. The first thing that one of them does before even saying anything is punches me in the face, and then they shove me into an also unmarked vehicle, put handcuffs on me, and drive me across the country to Sderot. In Sderot, they put me in a chair and just beat me for about half an hour, and start a case, write everything down, and put me in a jail in a nearby city, where I would spend the next 4 days going between courts with appeals, counter appeals, and so on. And in the end, I was released, but it was a big scandal. Everyone was talking about it. The right-wingers were talking about it. Like, why was I released? I should have been in jail forever. And there was... my lawyer's argument was that there was no damage done to anything. Like, the sticker, you can just tear it off. It's not, I haven't damaged anything, even though they charged me with desecration of a memorial. And a week after that case, a law was introduced in the Knesset, in the parliament, that proposes a minimum 2-year sentence for desecration of any national monument, even if there is no damage done.
Oh my God.
You have a law.
So I made Israel slightly more authoritarian.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You got your own law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But both of these cases were not unprecedented, but this doesn't really happen generally. The army doesn't kidnap Israeli citizens and internationals and blindfolds them and holds them in military bases.
I think it's actually illegal.
Don't go. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
no,
that's why they lied about it.
Specifically, the blindfolding part is illegal, and then obviously the rest is illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But this is sort of like the extreme, or not extreme, but it's a outer point of your activism, the consequences of your activism.
Yeah. May I add one thing?
Yeah, of course.
It's extreme for us.
Yeah.
It is unprecedented for us, for people that look like us, for people that carry our IDs. This is a daily ordeal for Palestinians. This is the bare minimum. This is like a Palestinian's chill day. This is it's true. This is like, if a Palestinian would endure this, they would be like, oh, it was so fine. I just missed 1 day of my life. We were kidnapped for 15 hours? Yeah. That's nothing. That's a joke to them. It's like the repercussions that we have are so minimal. And these experiences, as unprecedented and shocking and, slightly traumatizing just a little bit, as they are for us, are like absolutely nothing to what we would have endured if we were Palestinian.
Yeah. This is part 1 of the interview with Andrey and Sophia. Stay tuned next week for part 2, where we will be talking more about the settler violence attacks in the West Bank and their work. Thank you for listening, and Free Palestine.